Who will win Super Bowl 58? It's time to decide. The kings of the NFC, the 49ers, versus the kings and the reigning champs of the world, the Kansas City Chiefs. One great man once said, if you want to be the man, you got to, beat the man. That is what Super Bowl 58 is all about. The 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's time to give you the greatest Super Bowl preview for Super Bowl 58 that you or this world has ever seen. Welcome to the Bottom Line View. My name is Mitch. Let's have some fun discussing the 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the offenses of both teams, the defenses of both teams, the matchups in between these sides of the football. And if you haven't already, go check out my matchups that will determine Super Bowl 58, my previews, my game plans for the 49ers and the Chiefs. If you want even more in-depth discussion when it comes to 49ers Chiefs football and what I would do as the coach of both teams, go check those matchups out. Before we break down this game, I want to say one thing. I want to do one thing. And that is, I want to make a video later in this week, potentially on Friday or Saturday, making this video currently on Tuesday, live on the Bottom Line View. I want to hear your prediction for the game. And what I'm going to do with that prediction is I'm going to turn that prediction into a video itself. So get in the comment section below. If you're watching this live, make sure to, if you want to leave your prediction, comment after the video goes up on YouTube, which should be immediately, and leave your comment for your prediction, your score, your Super Bowl MVP. And I want to turn those comments and your predictions into a BLV subscriber prediction video where I go through all your predictions and give you my take on your prediction for Super Bowl 58. Okay? So make sure to do that. For the 49ers, this is not the Packers, and this is not the Lions. This is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team with mental fortitude, mental toughness, heart, and competitive stamina that the Lions and the Packers did not have. And if you're the Chiefs, this is not the banged up Miami Dolphins with a quarterback playing in the cold who can't throw. This is not the Buffalo Bills with half their defense injured. This is not even the Ravens, a team that maybe has all the talent and might have been the best team in the NFL through the regular season. They might have been. And yeah, you beat an impressive Ravens team. But that Ravens team, if they've proven anything to us over the last few years, they do not have the ability to come back. They do not have the mental strength. They do not have the competitive stamina of the 49ers. They do not have the championship pedigree of the 49ers. These are the two best teams in the NFL. This is Super Bowl 58. It is the reigning golden boy of the NFL taking on Mr. Irrelevant. It's the two best coaches in the NFL, Andy Reid versus Kyle Shanahan. It is the potential to name the Chiefs a dynasty if you haven't already. Or it's the potential to take a look at the 49ers and say what they have accomplished in this NFC. 4 NFC championships since 2019. 3 straight NFC championship appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and now if they win a Super Bowl championship, it's something to say about the 49ers and what they've been able to accomplish in this new regime. The return to glory for the most successful franchise in NFL history. Fact, most playoff wins ever. Even more than my Patriots, which I hate to say that. Okay. So let's take a look at how these two teams looked throughout the regular season and the tale of the tape. Gronk spiked the like button. Kittle spiked the like button. Kelsey spiked the like button, if you haven't already. The tale of the tape for this matchup, DVOA overall. Niners ranked second, only behind what we talked about, the most talented team, the best overall team throughout the regular season, which was the Ravens. Chiefs already knocked one of those teams off. The Chiefs, fifth in total DVOA, so they were not looked at as an elite team until the playoffs began. First on offense was the 49ers. 11th on offense were the Chiefs. 10th on defense, San Francisco, which aligns with the 11th offense of the Chiefs. And the 6th best offense, according to EPA, were the Chiefs this season. Point differential just speaks to how dominant the Niners were in comparison to the Chiefs throughout the regular season. 193 points in point differential compared to only 77. So these two teams have had a totally different tale of the tape. They've had two different directions of how they've gotten here. And your pick may be based on what you think these two teams are going to bring on Super Bowl Sunday in terms of what do you make of this Chiefs playoff run? Do you think that they have been able to turn it on? They have been able to defeat teams that people thought were better than them. Or maybe they caught them at the right time. Maybe they caught them with a lesser game plan in one case. Maybe they got a little lucky. And for the 49ers, they have not played their best. They have not played their best in a while. But is that because of their opponents being really good in certain aspects of the game? Or is that because the Niners have gotten a lot worse? And maybe you would say the Niners have been lucky. So depending on your approach to that, you may see the game going a couple different ways. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, especially when we get to talking about the Niners defense and why I think that plays the Niners defense and the Chiefs offense and why that story throughout the playoffs plays a huge role. Okay, let's take a look. So San Francisco is currently favored by 2 right now. They are technically the away team, I believe, and the Chiefs are technically the home team, which gets me into the jersey colors, which is our quick stats for Super Bowl 58. Jersey colors for this game. The San Francisco 49ers will be wearing white. The Kansas City Chiefs will be wearing red. You've probably heard this stat, but teams wearing white are 16-3 in the Super Bowl since 2004. Personally, as a Patriots fan, I think that's mostly just a Pats stat or a Tom Brady stat because every time the Patriots won, seemingly it was in white. I think they won their first Super Bowl in blue, but Brady won it in Tampa Bay in white, defeating the Chiefs that wore red. And the Patriots won multiple Super Bowls in white, including the Falcons game, including the Seahawks game, including the Eagles game, including, I don't think the Panthers game. But anyways, it's a stat. 16-3, the white jersey team. The Niners will be wearing their road jerseys. Chiefs will be wearing their red, which actually they wore their red against the Niners white in the first Super Bowl, Super Bowl 54, taking on San Francisco. So for Chiefs fans, you can at least lean into that and say, hey, we beat them in red the first time. So there's no luck on our side. But I will also say that the Chiefs did wear white against the Eagles last year and won, and the Chiefs wore red against the Bucs and lost. So they're 1-1 with red. They're 1-0 with white. I'll also point out that I don't know if this is convenient, but the Fox commentary team commentated Super Bowl 54 and also Super Bowl 57, both the games that the Chiefs won. CBS covered the game for Bucs and Chiefs, in which the Chiefs lost. CBS will also be covering this game, Romo and Nance, same commentary duo. This is the third time in history that defending champs have been underdogs in the Super Bowl. The Cowboys in 1978 and 79, they lost. And the 2014 and 2015 Seahawks, they also lost. This is going to be the 4th coaching rematch in Super Bowl history. This is a favorable stat for the Chiefs. Chuck Noll versus Tom Landry, Jimmy Johnson versus Mark Levy, Tom Coughlin, and Bill Belichick. In each of the previous three, the coach that won the first matchup won the second matchup. So, some interesting stats there that I found. I'll also say, just from a storyline standpoint, Purdy and Christian McCaffrey actually ended up playing their first games as 49ers against the Chiefs in 2022. So Brock Purdy didn't start the entirety of the game, but he came in the end of the game when the Chiefs were leading and they had the game handled. And that was the first game right after where he didn't even know the playbook when McCaffrey came in and was introduced as a 49er. So that is just kind of funny from like a storyline standpoint, but something to think about. In terms of injuries for this game, Joe Thuney is expected to be out, according to Andy Reid yesterday. The left guard, all-pro left guard, has been probably the best offensive lineman for the Chiefs. And then Charles Omenihu, the right end of the Kansas City Chiefs, almost said the Niners because he used to play for the Niners, but he's also a player that has crossover, as well as Charvarius Ward, and I think a couple others, maybe Chris Connolly off the top of my head. Charles Omenihu will be out for this game as well. He tore his ACL in the AFC Championship. He's been a starter for the defensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs. More on that later. Thuney will be replaced by Nick Allegretti, who got the start in the AFC Championship at left guard versus the Baltimore Ravens. Played pretty well overall. He's a solid player, but he's certainly no all-pro. Willie Gay should also be back in the lineup for the Chiefs. He missed the AFC Championship game with injury. He's a linebacker that tends to be, more of their coverage, athletic type of linebacker, which could come into play in this game for sure. Now towards the keys to the game. I think, first of all, the run game on both sides, which we're going to dive deep into, is a crucial aspect to this game. Both run defenses in this game are two of the worst in the NFL, which is actually funny to say when we're talking about a Super Bowl matchup. But both run defenses have been putrid this year. 28th for Kansas City in EPA, 26th for San Francisco. So San Francisco slightly better overall for the season, but Kansas City and San Francisco have suffered when it comes to defending the run. I think because of the run game, time of possession and playing with a lead is going to be crucial in this game because it forces the other team to play a style that they don't want to play. So for the 49ers, they don't really want to have to deal with a balanced offense and a team that's running the ball at them and a defense that can play pass coverage because their weaknesses are their run defense and their pass blocking. For Kansas City, they don't want to have to play from behind, although we haven't seen it very much in the playoffs. We've actually seen San Francisco come from behind in games and win, so that's something. But Kansas City, they don't want to have to play from behind because they're not an explosive passing game. They don't throw the ball down the field. And defensively, they don't stop the run very well. So it's hard for them to get off the field. So it puts the other team in a position where they're uncomfortable, which is the main point. When it comes to game script, I think it's important that the Niners are able to play, I would say, quicker, extend the game, while the Chiefs shorten the game. Why is that? The Chiefs have only scored 30-plus points this season 3 times. San Francisco has scored 30 points this year 10 times. Okay? So a shootout, if you think it would be a shootout, would favor San Francisco with the number 1 offense in the NFL. Now, to start the game, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at that because it's big. It's a big deal. And the Chiefs have been really good to start games in the playoffs, especially in the playoffs over the tenure of Mahomes and Reid, where they've had 8 straight first possession scores. Now, that's not only touchdowns, also field goals included, but 8 straight first possession scores in the postseason. This postseason, Kansas City was able to, against Baltimore, force a 3-and-out, then go score a touchdown. They were up 7-0. On their first drive, they scored a touchdown. They had a 4th down conversion as well. Buffalo started 3-0, and then they tied it 3-3 with their first possession with a field goal. So Buffalo maybe fared the best in the first early portion of this game. And then Kansas City started with the ball against Miami and went up 7-0 as well. San Francisco, meanwhile, fell behind 3-0 against Green Bay and fell behind 7-0 against Detroit. The two teams have identities offensively. The Niners being explosive, the Chiefs being really good at not taking negative plays. I think that's important to understand because that's how both teams play. The Niners are looking for explosive runs and explosive passes. The Chiefs are very much of the identity playing through Patrick Mahomes' decision-making of not taking negatives, sacks, interceptions, losses in the run game, or loss of yards. Now, let's get to the offense of the 49ers and the defense of Kansas City, which I think is probably like the best overall matchup in this game. I don't think it's the one that really decides the game necessarily, but I think it's the matchup that is most fascinating, and I don't know if I would call it most even, but definitely I just think it's the two best units in this game going toe-to-toe. Gronk spiked that like button. Kelsey spiked that like button. Kittle spiked that like button. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. San Francisco's offense. That is not fake. First in EPA on offense this year. First in success rate passing. First in success rate rushing. And first in points per drive. By far the best offense in football. And they've shown you that in the last 2 second halves of the playoff matchups. They've been able to replace leads and really get back in games really quickly. Kansas City, 6th defensively in EPA, 2nd against the pass, 15th against the rush in success rate. We brought up their stat against the run in EPA, which was 28th. But success rate-wise, they're 15th. And points per drive, they are 3rd. So it's a juggernaut matchup between a really good defense and a really good offense, although the numbers would say the Niners are the better unit. So let's break down why I think it's going to be very hard for the Chiefs to make a lot of stops in this game. And it starts off with the game plan that I think Kyle Shanahan is going to utilize, which is run the fucking ball. Underline. Baltimore Ravens, you should have done this. So San Francisco, first of all, is 20-0 when they score 20 points this season. So that's the key number for San Francisco. When they've been able to score 20 points, they do not lose a game. And I also think that San Francisco can look at some games and some teams that have success against Kansas City, and I think they're going to be able to utilize aspects of Buffalo's game plan, the Packers' game plan, which also Matt LaFleur comes from Shanahan's tree. The Packers beat the Chiefs. The Bills beat the Chiefs once this year out of 2 games. And the Raiders beat the Chiefs. All those games and all those game plans offensively were heavily run influenced. The Chiefs will have issues with the Niners run game. And if that is the case, we've seen San Francisco win a lot of the games where CMC has success. CMC is 12-1 when he rushes for 75 plus yards in a game this year. Their one loss was against the Ravens, okay, with 55 plus rushing yards. They lost that game. He had over 100 yards in that game, but a lot of those yards came in the second half, just to point out. 16 plus carries. CMC and the Niners have 0 losses this year. So if CMC gets to the figure of 16 carries, it's a strong chance that the Niners win this game. McCaffrey will face a Chiefs defense that has allowed the 3rd most yards after contact per carry in 2023. That's 3.4. And the Chiefs, this is, I think, the most telling number, are 7-6 as a team when the other team is able to rush for 110 yards or more. So if the Niners are able to get 110 rushing yards, the Chiefs are basically a 500 team. Now, when you look at the numbers for San Francisco's run offense against the Chiefs' run defense, again, we've gone over it. Like San Francisco, first in EPA, first in success rate, fourth in yards per attempt, first in run offense grade. Kansas City, 28th in EPA, 15th in success rate, 24th in yards per attempt, 16th in run defense grade. And when we're talking about getting a little bit deeper into those numbers, Kansas City is 29th versus runs when they play base defense, and they're bottom 5 against under center runs, and they're second worst against zone runs in yards per attempt. The Niners are first in yards per attempt running zone runs. They are first in EPA in zone runs. The Chiefs are second worst. They are also really bad under center, and these are all things that the Niners do. So why that's crucial to bring up, the Niners love to play 21 personnel, which to explain is two running backs and one tight end. That's their core formation, with Kittle at tight end, Debo and Ayuk at receiver, Juszczyk and McCaffrey in the backfield in some way, shape, or form. And typically it comes from under center. And then you've also got 22 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, and 1 running back. That's when Charlie Warner, gets on the field, and they might bring Juszczyk off the field, or they might even put Juszczyk at tight end. But regardless, when the Chiefs face those personnel packages, they typically play base defense with 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and 4 defensive backs. And that's been on 75% of snaps when they face those personnel packages. And they're typically not very good against those packages. Okay, so I think when you're talking about the Niners running game, they're going to be able to run the ball. They should be able to run the ball when they go heavy. They should be able to run the ball when they go light. When the Chiefs are facing 11 personnel and the Niners are running out of 11 personnel, which is 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, the Niners have the best success rate in the NFL. The Chiefs defense ranks second last in the NFL against those looks as well. So no matter how the Niners get into their offense of running the football, 2 tight ends, 1 tight end and 2 backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end and 1 back, it doesn't really matter. They should have success running the ball. So that's where I think this game really takes its shape. If the Niners are able to run the ball and they're able to force Kansas City to play heavy in the box, Kansas City is going to correspond by probably playing a lot of people in the box, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive linemen, playing man-to-man on the outside, press coverage, tight coverage on the outside, taking their chances on the outside. And that could potentially also lead to big plays in the passing game for the Niners. But it's crucial that the Niners, no matter what it looks like on the other side, the Ravens got tricked. We talked about this all last week. We talked about this all AFC Championship. The Ravens had to run the ball. The Ravens had to establish the running game. And they never did that for themselves. And they actually were successful when they tried it. They just didn't go to it. They only had 6 running back attempts running the football. And only 1 with Lamar Jackson, which was absolutely absurd. Right? Will Kyle Shanahan make the same mistake? I am highly doubtful that he will. Especially considering in the games that the Chiefs have struggled the most, like I said, they've allowed a lot of rushing yards and time of possession. That keeps Mahomes on the sidelines, that allows you to extend drives to wear down their pass rush, and to most importantly, keep Spagnuolo out of looks where he's going to be able to blitz the 49ers, and he's going to be able to pressure Brock Purdy, and he's going to be able to put in a position where the Chiefs would have the advantage, which is 3rd and 8+, which is 3rd and long, which is passing downs. The Chiefs want to get you into, passing personnel. They want to play their dime package. They want to have 4 corners on the field, with multiple safeties on the field, with dynamic looks and simulated pressure looks. They don't want to have to deal with you running the ball and then setting up play action. which is my exact point here, which is what the Niners have led the NFL in. 22 personnel packages. They're the best in football. 21 personnel packages. They do it more than just about anybody in football. And they have had the most success running from under center. Chiefs have not been successful against it. Now let's talk about when the Chiefs are blitzing, because we know this is going to have to play a crucial role, because Spagnuolo likes to blitz. He likes to be aggressive, and the best chance for the Chiefs to get stops in this game is by creating negative plays. One way that you create a negative play is by blitzing. You either get a sack, you get a tipped ball, you get a loss of yards, you force a quick decision, you force an interception, you force something, right? The Chiefs have the 5th highest blitz rate in the NFL. They send 5-man pressure 60% of the time. And honestly, if the Chiefs are only going to send 4 and play heavy coverage looks, I honestly don't know if I think the Chiefs will get there. I understand the Chiefs have had a good pass rush this year, but that was also with Charles Omenihu. Is that 4-man rush going to be as effective without Charles Omenihu? I think the Chiefs have to blitz to get a lot of pressure. I don't think they can rely on 4-man rush to constantly get pressure. I think it'll be hit and miss. I think Chris Jones will win sometimes, but it's not like the Niners are not going to be double teaming Chris Jones a lot. I think George Karlaftis might win a time or two, but it's not like they're not going to be prepared for that, right? So I think the Chiefs are going to have to blitz to get consistent pressure in passing situations. Well, the thing with that is Brock Purdy and the Niners have been the best against the blitz this year in the NFL. First in yards per attempt, first in touchdowns, first in big time throws, first in passer rating, first in EPA, right? All those things, they check the boxes for the 49ers. So it's going to be really hard for the Chiefs to play their identity in this game if they're not able to stop the run, and it's hard for them to blitz, and they're getting beat when they do blitz. Now, I will say Purdy is better against man blitz defenses than he is against zone blitz defenses. And one wrinkle that Spagnuolo does bring is his ability to still keep 2 over the top, 2 safeties over the top, while confusing a quarterback and sending pressure. That might be the best way on 3rd downs for Spagnuolo to create heat. Because like I said, I honestly don't know that the Chiefs have the advantage with their 4-man pressure against the Niners offensive line because of the loss of Charles Omenihu. It's Mike Dana, it's Wharton, and most of the people watching this video don't know who those 2 people are. And then you've got Chris Jones and you've got George Karlaftis. Play action was something I already brought up. So play action could also be a key way for the 49ers to move the football in this game. The Chiefs' pass defense, like we brought up, is elite, but it's elite in drop-back passing situations. When they face play action this year, they are actually 21st in EPA, 19th in yards per attempt, and 32nd in success rate. Versus non-play action, they're 2nd in yards per attempt, they're 6th in EPA per attempt, and they're 11th in success rate. So they're a much better defense when they know you're going to pass. That's when they're at their best. When they know you're in a drop-back passing setting, which was what was so absurd about the Ravens' game plan in the AFC Championship game, because they just fed into the strength of the Chiefs' defense. And we saw the game against the Bills where they actually struggled a little bit because the Bills were running the ball, the Bills were utilizing play action, the Bills were utilizing screens, and they were getting the ball out fast, and they were not allowing the blitz to get home on Josh Allen. And those things were very, very effective for the Bills. And the Bills do not have as good of an offense as the Niners. They do have a better quarterback, but they don't have a better offense. So really, I look at it across the board, and I think it's going to be really, really hard for the Chiefs to get consistent stops. I think the way that they get stops here is through negative plays. Rather, they blitz the run game and they get a stop for a loss on 1st down. That might happen a couple times throughout this game. It just happens. You can't really simulate that. Their ability to confuse Brock Purdy in some passing situations with different looks, in the secondary, rotating safeties and coverage, showing blitz and backing out, showing coverage and delayed blitzing, Sending 5-man pressures and getting into the face of Brock Purdy could cause a tipped pass occasionally. But then you talk about, well, if the Chiefs are going to try to overload to stop the run and they play man coverage, this is a team in San Francisco that's well equipped to beat man coverage because Brandon Ayuk is a top 6 receiver in yards per route run against man. Kittle is the best tight end in football against man this year, and Christian McCaffrey is the 5th best running back against man coverage, and they still got Debo and Jawan Jennings. So it's going to be really, really hard for the Chiefs to make a lot of stops. I think this is a really bad matchup for them, personally, on defense. I think they have a very good defense, but this is an offense that's a very bad matchup. And that's why I think it was hard against the Bills. Although the Bills don't have a lot of talent, the Bills effectively utilize the right game plan to attack the Chiefs. And I think Shanahan will do the same, running the ball often, setting up Brock Purdy for success to not be 3rd and long, and effectively protecting his biggest weakness, which is his pass protection in those drop-back passing situations. For the Chiefs to win, they're going to have to get some negative plays in the run game and negative plays on early downs, which is going to be a challenge. And then the last and final point on this side of the ball is just yards after catch and explosive plays. If the Chiefs want to win this game, they can't allow easy completions for Purdy to turn into 20-yard gains, 15, 30-yard gains. They have to tackle. The Chiefs are a good tackling team, especially in the secondary. So that is an area where they are very good. But it's different facing, I would say a team like Baltimore and old man Odell Beckham and taking on Debo Samuel or George Kittle. Right? This is a different animal when it comes to tackling. So the Chiefs have to be on their A game. If they're going to blitz or they're going to, try to confuse Purdy and Purdy gets it out, let's say, to the flat to McCaffrey and he's one-on-one with the defender, they've got to finish that tackle. They can't allow McCaffrey to turn that into a first down. When they get their opportunities, they've got to get them down because that's what the Niners do better than anyone in football. They create the average-looking play, right? The little drag route to Debo. They make that an explosive play. And the Niners are the most explosive offense in the NFL. So the way I look at it, the Niners definitely have the edge on offense, although, everybody's kind of been praising the Chiefs defensively. Let's turn and flip it to the next page, which is the San Francisco defense taking on Kansas City's offense. If you guys have any points about that side of the ball, definitely get at me in the comment section, and we're going to continue to break down this game. Gronk spike, Kelsey spike, and Kittle spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And like I said at the beginning of this video, hit me up in the comment section and let me know your Super Bowl prediction. I want to make a video of your Super Bowl predictions later in this week. All right, let's take a look at Kansas City's offense versus the San Francisco defense. So, San Francisco's defense ranked 10th this year in EPA. Kansas City's offense 11th. In success rate, San Francisco's defense was 7th. They are a very good passing defense. Where they struggle is the run game. Kansas City is 8th in passing success rate this year. And in terms of the running game, both have been relatively weak. Kansas City 26th, San Francisco 24th. Points per drive, San Francisco 9th. And Kansas City 10th. Now, keep in mind, these are regular season statistics, but I just wanted to throw them out there for people to recognize the matchup across the board. Kansas City's been a pretty average offense this year. They've been able to turn it on in the playoffs, which is where I want to start for this matchup on this side of the ball. That's where I want to start. Because I think this is how you may be able to determine who you think is going to win this game. I think this side of the ball will determine the winner of the game. If San Francisco has a Philadelphia Eagle-like performance on this side of the ball from last year, well, then San Francisco's unlikely to win no matter how good their offense plays. Remember how bad it was for Philadelphia last year? It was really bad. Can Steve Wilkes step it up and not repeat a Jonathan Gannon type of defensive game plan or performance? But this is what I'm getting at. So you have to ask the question, why has the Chiefs offense played better? And why has the Niners defense played worse than that graphic, right? Like, why has San Francisco looked worse than the 10th best defense in the NFL? Why has Kansas City looked better than the 11th best offense in the NFL? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And this is kind of what I've thought about. So, first of all, the Niners defense, and I think a lot of people are missing this. The Niners defense played two of the top offenses in the NFL in their playoff matchups. Okay, so they played Green Bay, who ranked third in EPA from weeks 10 to 18, and then they laid the smackdown on the candy ass of the Dallas Cowboys. They scored like 100 points. And then Detroit. And Detroit ranked fifth from weeks 10 to 18 in the regular season. Then they played pretty well against the Rams and played really well against the Bucs, and they ranked fifth. And then you look at their rushing EPA numbers. Green Bay ranked third in EPA rushing the football through weeks 10 to week 18, and Detroit ranked third and Green Bay ranked fifth. So both Green Bay and Detroit from weeks 10 to 18 were top 5 offenses in the NFL. Green Bay was third and Detroit was fifth. Okay? So that's partly why the Niners defense has looked a lot worse, because they've taken on two of the best, most balanced offenses in football that have been able to attack the weakness of the 49ers, their run defense. The run defense that we've talked about is their weakness, right? When you look at the run defense this year for San Francisco, 14th in yards per attempt, 15th in run defense grade, 26th in EPA, 24th in success rate. Okay, now let's take a look at Kansas City. Why have they been so much better? Why have they been so much better on offense? They were a lot better in the first 2 games. And I think a lot of that, honestly, has to do with the opponents. You look at Miami's defense, that was incredibly beat up. They had no pass rushers. They signed 2 guys off the street. They didn't have Xavier Howard. They were missing one of their starting linebackers. And then you look at Buffalo. Again, a beat-up personnel of Buffalo. Didn't have Matt Milano or Tre'Davious White all season. Was missing Taylor Rapp at safety. Was missing a linebacker. I believe it was Bernard. They were missing, corners in the game as well. So, 2 beat-up defenses that Kansas City sliced. And they sliced Buffalo real good. But then they played Baltimore, who was the best defense in the NFL, and they're better than the Niners. There's no question. And they played really well in that game in the first half. And they went down the field and they scored, and then they went down the field and they scored, and then in the second half, they didn't score a single point. They went 8 straight possessions with 0 points, and they scored 17 for the entire game. So they played 2 bad, beat-up defenses, which is why they looked better than their ranking, which was 18th in EPA, 14th in rushing EPA from weeks 10 to week 18. So compare that to Detroit and Green Bay. Green Bay and Detroit, 3rd best offense. Detroit, 5th best offense. Kansas City, 18th best offense from week 10 to week 18. So is Kansas City that much better on offense? Or did they just play 2 bad teams and then 1 good defense? And to me, it's like, I think Kansas City is better. I think the fact that they didn't have Tony on the field, or they weren't handing the ball off to Mecole Hardman, or they weren't playing Justin Ross or Sky Moore, I think that made them better. And I think Kansas City figured out what their go-to plays are. Like, let's run the ball. Let's be balanced. Let's take our time. Mahomes really kind of turned into, let's be fair, like more of a game manager, right? So he was checking the ball down really fast, getting the ball out, protecting his defensive line, or protecting his offensive line from defensive lines. He was finding the soft spots in the zone coverages, and Travis Kelce upped his game in the playoffs, which is something you can't account for, and no stat can really tell you that he's better now than he was in the regular season. But I also think it's very fair to say that San Francisco has already played the best offenses they will face all playoffs long. This Chiefs offense, no matter how much better they've gotten in the playoffs, is not as good as Green Bay's offense and not as good as Detroit's. And I would also say that Kansas City's offense has faced the best defense they will face, which was Baltimore's defense. Now, I think looking at this game, a lot of it for me is going to come down to whether or not San Francisco can stop the run. Because San Francisco has gotten eaten alive, especially against Detroit. I think the Packers game was a little misleading in terms of their run defense because Aaron Jones hit one huge run that was over 50 yards, and the rest of the game he was good, but like he wasn't like super explosive or anything. It was successful, but it wasn't like game breaking or game changing. But they were very bad against Detroit. I mean, it was disgusting to watch, especially in the first half. And even in the second half, I think Detroit had more success than people want to tell you about. I think they were able to get in positions for field goals, but they weren't able to execute on fourth down because Dan Campbell decided to go for it. So when you look at Pacheco so far in the playoffs, he had 6.5 yards per carry against Buffalo. He had 4.1 yards per carry against Miami, which isn't great, but it's not bad. And then he had 2.8 yards per carry against Baltimore. So that's 24 carries for 68 yards against Baltimore. Not very good, which I actually thought was Baltimore's weakness, run defense. Didn't turn out to be. And I wonder how much Joe Thuney played into that as well. 15 carries for 97 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. That was his best game by far against Buffalo. And then 4.1 yards per carry on 24 carries for 89 yards against Miami. This is the worst rushing offense that the Niners have faced. But I do think that the Niners should play into the fact that they have not been good against the run. They should try to go out of their way to stop the run. They should try to play 5-man fronts. They should try to, bring Kinlaw in that game and have Young and Boza on the edges with Hargrave, Armstead, and Kinlaw along the interior of the defensive line. They showed this in probably their best defensive game of the season against Jacksonville, and it was very, very good for them. I'm not sure why they haven't gone back to this more, but that's the way I would approach it. Play more people in the box. And why this is so important, if the Niners do decide to put more people in the box, do you guys know who's the best run defense in the NFL with 8 people in the box? It's actually the San Francisco 49ers. The problem that the 49ers have had against the Lions and the Packers is that they've been too focused on taking away explosive passing plays. They've been too focused on playing their wide 9 front and 7 men in the box and defending the play action of those teams and the explosive passing plays that they've gotten eaten up in the ground game. But the Niners have been first in EPA and 8th in success rate with stacked boxes, which means 8 people or more in the box this season against the run. So they can stop the run, but it's a matter of how many people they have in the box. So that was fascinating to me when I found out that stat, because I was wondering is this a personnel problem, or is this a formation problem, a front problem? I think it's a combination of a front problem and not putting enough resources into stopping it. But here's the thing. If San Francisco decides to stop the run, well, then that would potentially open up some shots down the field for Patrick Mahomes, which is the case for sure. But if I'm the Niners, and I broke this down in my game plan, which you guys can go watch, where I broke down the game plan for San Francisco in depth, would you not want to force like MVS and Justin Watson to make a go ball against you, right? Like, this isn't the Packers receivers or the Lions receivers for sure. These are guys that have been really good against zone. Like, you look at the numbers for the Kansas City Chiefs against zone, and they funnel targets to 2 people. Travis Kelce has 962 yards against zone this year. That's an incredible number. And then Rashee Rice has 852 yards against zone. No other Chief player has more than 260 yards against zone. So if you're going to play zone and San Francisco comes out and they play zone, they're going to get shredded because Andy Reid has too many plays and Patrick Mahomes is too smart. And there's no way that no matter how good the Niners front 4 is and how much of an advantage they may have, if they just sit back and play soft coverage, it's not really even a matter of zone, but it's a matter of press. It's a matter of tight coverage. I think I should put it that way. It's not necessarily a matter of zone, but it's a matter of bump and run and giving your pass rush enough time to get home to the quarterback, more so than it is a man or zone problem. But we've seen Mahomes, like, think back to that Ravens game. Early in that game, he's picking the Ravens apart. The Ravens are the best zone team or the best defense in the league. He's just throwing short passes left and right, and he's not even looking down the field. He's just getting the ball out. They're running the ball fairly successfully early in the game before the Ravens adjusted to it, right? San Francisco should come out in this game and should try to replicate what the Ravens did in the second half, which is play more stacked boxes, play a little bit more man coverage, maybe blitz occasionally, right? Play aggressive, play in your face, force these receivers to make vertical plays down the field. And if the Niners do that, I think it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to continuously move the ball. Because as we've said, San Francisco is really good at defending the run from stacked boxes. Kansas City struggles to get explosive passing plays. So it's a matter of, what does Steve Wilks do? And I think one area where Kansas City might be able to have success here is through play action. If they do try to stack the box and things and try to bring those linebackers up, play action is an area where San Francisco has been susceptible. They have allowed the 28th most EPA per play and the 24th success rate in football, as well as the 28th yards per attempt against play action since week 14, which does include the Lions, the Packers. So those are really good play action teams. Kansas City might want to dial up some more play action in this game. I would also say for Kansas City, you want to run the ball out of 11 personnel. And the reason I say you want to run the ball out of 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, is you want to make the Niners have an extra corner on the field and run the ball against them there, where they rank 28th in success rate when teams run the ball out of 3 receiver formations. Okay? But, like I just said, when they stack the box and they have the extra linebacker on the field, if the Chiefs try to go 2-3 tight ends, that's where the Niners are actually good against the run. So 11 personnel, try to run the ball if the Niners don't stack the box. If the Niners stack the box, try to utilize play action, try to use the screen game, try to threaten the edges. And then if they do play man or they do blitz, that's when you can take your shots if you're Kansas City and go down the field. You know that you're going to see a bunch of play action. You know that you're going to see a bunch of movement in the pocket. I could see early in this game Andy Reid having movement plays for Mahomes to get the ball out, quick throws to the perimeter, quick screens to the perimeter to try to neutralize Boza and have these guys running around and trying to defend that and trying to tackle early in this game because of the deficiencies the Niners have had on defense as of late. And another interesting thing, to finish this side of the ball off, this is kind of the quarterback that doesn't get sacked against the defense that gets pressure but doesn't get sacks. So San Francisco's team is 7th in pressure rate, but only 20th in sacks. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are 2nd in sack rate. They don't get sacked, but they're 19th in allowing pressure. Kind of a funny stat. So you could see Mahomes running around and avoiding sacks and avoiding negative plays, but not necessarily getting sacked, is my point. The final point about this side of the ball is, can Mahomes have a classic Super Bowl performance? Because I think they're going to need it to win this game. In his previous 3 Super Bowls, he has not been great. I would say against the Eagles was his best overall game, but it's not like he lit the skies on fire. He did not have a 300 passing yard performance. I don't even think he had 200 yards in the game. Against the Bucs, he struggled a lot. Whether that was his fault or not, that's up for discussion. And then the first Super Bowl against the Niners, he made the clutch throws, but he wasn't super consistent against the Niners in Super Bowl 54. He threw 2 interceptions in that game. So it might very well come down, can Mahomes have a classic performance? He's reading the coverage as well. He's escaping pressure. He's making magical plays. It feels like for the Chiefs to win, Mahomes probably needs to play his best game that he's played in the playoffs and his best game that he's ever played in a Super Bowl. So that's also something that I wanted to bring up. All right, well, that's pretty much my breakdown, like from a statistical and a football nerdy perspective. In terms of overall, man, I can't help but feel a little bit like last year. Like, last year I picked the Eagles in this game. Now, I will say a couple things about that. I picked the Eagles, and at halftime, I was feeling really good about it because of how I think they were leading by 14, something like that. But I couldn't help but go into that game and just feel like the line of scrimmage edge for the Eagles was insurmountable. And I thought the pass rush of the Eagles would play better than they did. I thought that the run game for the Eagles would be a bit better than they performed in that game. But Jalen Hurts had an epic game, and the Chiefs kind of forced Jalen Hurts to have an epic game, and he did. On the other side, Gannon had a disastrous performance. Andy Reid had a masterful performance, and Mahomes made all the right plays, and Pacheco was an absolute stud in that game. And that was a Chiefs offense that was the best in the NFL last year, in my opinion. The Chiefs defense wasn't quite as good as this year, but it was still good, and it was definitely healthier. I look at this game, and I feel somewhat similar in terms of the line of scrimmage. I think the line of scrimmage is the area that not a lot of people are talking about. And it's always important to me in Super Bowls because oftentimes I think the line of scrimmage decides Super Bowls. I've seen my teams win because of line of scrimmage plays and my team lose because of line of scrimmage play. I think of these Giants games against the Patriots. But you look at the line of scrimmage, and we discussed how I think the Niners will be able to run the ball on the Chiefs. Every statistical edge is there to be had. They have been the best running team in football. The Chiefs have been a fairly average running offense. Niners have been not a great running defense. So can the Chiefs kind of balance that out with a good performance running the ball? But then you think about, okay, well, Joe Thuney's out. And then you think about the other side. Well, Charles Omenehu's out. So are you really going to tell me that a team starting Mike Dana and some guy named Wharton are going to be able to beat the best offense in the NFL? And then on the other side, are you going to tell me that a team with Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor and Nick Allegretti are going to be able to protect Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, and Chase Young? And I understand they haven't been playing the best as of late, but that was against like the Lions offensive line and the Packers offensive line. Like even Chiefs fans would admit their offensive line has not been as good as recent years. So and it wasn't as good as last year. I think that might have been the difference in the offensive productivity is their tackle play hasn't been as good. So you're looking at, just to me, I think the Niners have the line of scrimmage edge in the run game, especially on offense. I think they have the pass rush edge. I think the Chiefs will have to bring extra people to affect Purdy, where maybe that will be successful, but stats would tell you that it wouldn't be. The Niners have better playmakers. The Niners are more explosive. They have more margin for error. The Chiefs are definitely more reliable at defensive coordinator and quarterback and kicker. But the way I kind of see the game going is I think if we have reasonable coaching from Steve Wilks, I think the Niners should win this game. Like, they should be able to take control of the game through their running game, possess the football, not put the game on the right shoulder of Brock Purdy. But then when Purdy will be asked to make plays, I have enough faith in Brock Purdy to make those plays. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, I like Brock Purdy, and maybe I'll be wrong about Brock Purdy in this game. It's definitely possible. But I think Brock Purdy's a good player. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, and I think Brock Purdy can make throws, and I think he can make plays, and I think he can run and make a play. And I think he won't have to throw the ball 40 times. That gives me confidence. I think that their play action will work. I think it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to overwhelm the Niners in the pass rush department because they're missing one of their better defensive linemen. I think it'll be hard for the Chiefs to stop the run because they have not been a good run defense this year. And because, again, they're missing Charles Omenihu, I think that matters. I think their depth of their D-line is a little bit iffy. And I don't necessarily think the Chiefs have the best personnel defensively to stop the Niners. So I think they'll be able to score and control the game. And I think they're going to score about 24 to 30 points in this game. Somewhere around there. 23 to 30. Somewhere around there. And then I think the Chiefs, it's definitely more margin. Like, I could see the Chiefs playing in a shootout with the Niners, where it's like 30 to 27, 31-28 type of game. But I could also see the Chiefs offense struggling a bit more than people think, and the Niners defense playing a bit better than people think, because the Niners are not facing an elite offense here. And while they might be facing an elite quarterback, there's a lot more weaknesses on a Chiefs offense. Tackle positions, left guard position, running game is average, receivers are average. They've got a great tight end. They've got a good wide receiver. But this is not the Lions or the Packers offensively. And I kind of feel like the Niners are just the more complete, better team. I picked them before the season. I picked them before the playoffs. I've been riding or dying with Kyle Shanahan for years. I think this is their game. This is their game. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to count out Mahomes and Andy Reid and this team. But I honestly think if the Niners defense can just adequately stop the run, there's a chance that they get a lead in this game and they never look back. Now, I will predict the score to be 27-24, 27-20, something like that for the 49ers. I just don't, on paper and in my mind, I don't want to bet against Mahomes. Like, everybody is going to make their previews and everyone's going to say, I can't bet against Mahomes, therefore I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I don't want to do that. But I also can't look at this game and say, like, there's a clear definitive edge for the Chiefs here. There's a clear definitive edge for the Chiefs there. And if I'm being honest, I think the Chiefs should have lost last week if it were not for the worst offensive game plan I've ever seen in my life in the playoffs. And I don't think that my favorite coach in the league is going to make that same mistake. I don't think the best, most balanced offense in the NFL is going to make that same mistake. And I do think that the Niners defense will play hard. They just have too many studs. They have too many game changers. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Charvarius Ward. They have too many of these guys to not count on them playing at least decent to win this game. So that's why I'm going with the Niners. I could be wrong, and Mahomes could have a masterclass, and Pacheco could have a better game than what I project him to have, and they could run the ball, and they could pace this game, and they could throw their short passes, and they could do their thing. But I don't think Kansas City's defense is going to be able to carry this team in this game. And that's probably the biggest reason why I feel like the Niners are going to win. And the more I've gone into this game and dove into this game, I feel more confident in the Niners. At first, I felt like, oh no, it's happening again. It's the Chiefs in the Super Bowl against, last year I didn't really care. I didn't really, no offense to Big Al, I didn't really care for the Eagles either. But last year, it was more like, well, the Niners, and here's the thing with the Eagles in comparison to the Niners. Last year, the Eagles blew the shit out of everybody. They blew everybody out, but they never really got to play the Niners. So we didn't really know what that game would have looked like, and I think that might have given us a better idea. And that's the same thing with the Niners in 2019. They blew everybody out. Now this is a team that is mentally tough, and I think mentally ready for this game, and mentally fortified. They've been through the experience. They've had to come back and fight back. They have not played well, but that actually gives me more confidence in this game. Because I believe that the Niners could come back and win this game. I believe the Niners can win from in front. I believe their defense could close this game. I believe their offense could close this game. For the Chiefs, I think it's been a masterful run. I think they have upset a team I didn't think they would in the Ravens. I was not surprised they beat the Dolphins or the Bills. This is going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great matchup. I'm going with the team that I've believed in overall for the overall course of the season, from beginning of the year to end of the year, that I've always thought has been the best team in football, and you guys know that. And I'm not backing down. So that's my breakdown for Super Bowl 58. If you enjoyed, don't forget to spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. It's been an incredible season of picks, an incredible season of previews. I thank you everybody so much. This has been the most watched video on the channel pretty much weekly. And don't forget to get in the comment section below after this upload goes on YouTube and let me know your Super Bowl prediction. Let me know your Super Bowl pick, your Super Bowl MVP, and all of that for the comments, because I want to make a video about your predictions and I'll be responding to your predictions in that video. All right, so make sure you do that. I will also be coming out with best bets. I'll be coming out with prop picks throughout the next couple of days here on the channel. So stay tuned for that. What else do I got to say? What else? Spike the like button. And my Super Bowl MVP. I didn't give my pick yet. My Super Bowl MVP is going to be Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey, it comes full circle. Shanahan and a McCaffrey win the Super Bowl together once again. I think that Christian is going to be the best player in this game. I think he's going to see 20-plus touches in this game. I think he's going to run for nearly 150 yards. He might catch another 35, 40 yards. I think he's going to be a dominant force that powers the Niners to victory in this game, allows them to play from in front, allows their defense to succeed, and I think he'll probably score 2 touchdowns. So I've got Christian McCaffrey as the Super Bowl MVP. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everybody. I'm out. Till next time. Deuces.